everybody, and welcome back to another 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with.
I'm Steve from Excelsior Movie Reviews, and I got to change my thing again. Yeah, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
And I also am here with Rocky. My dog is in my lap. He's a lap dog.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, he was very mad at me because I'm not sleeping,
Oh,
which, he was used to me doing. He watched the movie with me too, but he fell asleep, so he didn't care.
uh,
About it enough. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the 2009, I think it was, movie Dismal. And that was done by Gary King, was the director, and the writer was Bo Buckley. And it stars, oh my goodness, I'm gonna mess up on these names too, I'm sure. But it stars, let's see, Linda Chandler as Dana, Tim Morris as Kurt, Bill O'Burst Jr., who's a bigger name than most of those guys. He was like Abraham Lincoln versus zombies or whatever, the Asylum version.
okay.
There was a Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, the
Right.
real movie or whatever. Well,
Yeah.
they did Abraham Lincoln versus zombies, and he was Abraham Lincoln. He looked just like Abraham Lincoln. They did a great job. Um, Also, Jack Harrison is the idiot. That's his name. Uh, Capel Kane was Shelley. Will Triplett, Will Triplett, Gary King, and Bo Buckley are all friends of mine on Facebook. So hello guys, if you're watching this. Um, Jade Arnold is Jamal, and Megan Reedy as Eve. Brent Lovell as Brady, and those were the main stars. And Brady, I believe, was the boyfriend who was kind of jealous boyfriend who didn't want the girl to go on just a one night excursion, one day excursion into the woods with a complete stranger, which makes absolute sense. He should have went with her.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know why she didn't say, "Why don't you come?" And because everybody else brought somebody who had nothing to do with the thing, like what is it, Jamal. Okay, so answer me this: what did you think? Because Jamal had Eve. Was she a hooker?
She could have been. She was pretty
Because
hot.
she
Pretty
was
hot.
hot, and she said something before earlier where she mentioned, you should have paid me more money for this. And I'm wondering because they never hooked up before. It could have been that he just gave her money so she would go with him, or whatever. But like, it sounded like he paid her for sex. But I'm not sure. I don't know. It was kind of left up to debate. And her name is Eve. And so it made me think of like Adam and Eve and the snake, and they talk about a snake in it. So I wonder if any of that was sort of thrown in the movie. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, they're in the woods, and yeah, it's like they're usually in horror movies. Like at times, the people have sex on in the woods usually are in trouble. If you've seen the Friday the 13th movies, that tends to be the case.
And in the beginning, they weren't. In the beginning, they were fine the first time. Second time, at night. So when it happens at night, so whenever you have sex in the woods at night,
Mhm.
so that goes to, tell you guys, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Um, they also have that line where he says, "We'll be right back," and then he goes, "Shouldn't have said that, should I have?"
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
Scream,
Right.
nod.
I'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be right
Right.
back. So we'll be right back. And oops, I shouldn't have said that. Did you see the twist coming at the end? And boy, by the way, there is spoilers to this. So if you haven't seen it, go to Tubi and watch it yourself. Uh,
Yes.
so
It
did
do
you
be.
see the twist coming?
I saw the first twist coming for sure, but not the second one. The
So the
T
first twist being the guy who's
the sheriff,
alive.
the police, the guy that's in charge of police, or whatever. I kind of
Oh
saw that.
yeah, yeah.
It just
You
seemed like
saw that,
okay,
yeah, because he
seems
he was creepy from the very beginning.
yeah, because he didn't seem to be too worried about anything. Like he's like, it's fine. Somebody killed that killed the crocodile or alligator or whatever that. And
Alligator,
oh,
which I
that's
think.
just poachers, no big deal.
Yeah, so the Great Dismal Swamp, I think, is like in South Carolina and Georgia area. And
Mm.
so there's crocodiles or alligators, not crocodiles, alligators down there, and they do have poachers and they do have all that stuff. So all that and the poachers in the first 10 minutes or 5 minutes of the movie were just death fodder, like they
Right.
had no it was just to show you that there was something out there that was killing people and you didn't know what it was. And you come to find out it's a family, much like what Texas Chainsaw Massacre and
Very much. And
all of
yeah,
that stuff. I guess they're all brothers. I you know what I think would have been a great twist at the end because they kind of show what's his name Brady the person die randomly at the end, but
mhm.
it would have been great if the girl's run has already killed everybody and then she comes across Daddy because they mentioned Daddy.
Yeah.
And then he comes after her or whatever. Kind of ends on that, so it could set up for like a sequel or something if they wanted to. Right now, I mean, they've never made a sequel to this movie. It I don't think they wanted to or whatever. It seemed like a one and done deal, you know.
Yeah, it had the late 2000s kind of special effects in it too. Some of the special effects were pretty good, but they were really cheap. I thought
Some
so.
were really actually some were pretty bad. Like watching it
Tripwire.
now, yeah, when she gets ripped apart, you could definitely tell that was fake. Like
Hmm.
like that was not even, that was cool.
Hmm.
Then you're like, "Oh man, if it didn't look so fake, it would have been cooler. Because it wasn't practical CGI on that one, I
Right.
believe.
If CGI for sure, and then the guy that gets shot, the main, I guess what you thought was a killer, the main guy, like a Jason type of that big
Yeah,
guy, when
the
he gets
big
shot,
guy.
it looks really fake.
The idiot, the
Yeah,
idiot
idiot. Yeah,
character. Yeah, he gets shot, and that was pretty cool. And then the blow up of the cabin was pretty cool.
yeah,
But it still looked fake. Like,
yeah.
you could tell that was CGI fire or whatever, or CGI explosion. Um, I did like the makeup effects, like when the guy is charred at the end and
Hmm.
everything. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. That actually looks really good. So I was happy
Comical.
with that.
Yeah, it's hard not to laugh at him. I mean, he looked like Bruce Campbell in a lot of ways. At that point, the hair is kind of shorter and it kind of
Yeah.
scar,
I,
shard look, kind of.
I'm
Yeah,
sure Tim Morris would love you saying he looked like Bruce Campbell. You
yeah.
know, who wouldn't want to be Ash, because he did sort of have that like, I'm surprised he didn't say, "Give me my boomstick," you know.
Yeah. He's, I mean, I like the three women in the movie, and next to them, I thought he was my favorite. As far as the guys, he's my favorite character in the movie. But I totally saw that twist coming. They say, well, totally saw the first twist coming. That one I didn't see, but he kind of gives you some warning signs, never to go, go after dark, go outside and outside of the tents that they were in, and and then he basically invited all these kids to go to this trip and just to basically to get him killed. I guess
Uh-huh.
I guess he wasn't planning on returning back to school the next Monday or whatever after the weekend. He was planning to murder everybody or get them all killed. You know.
Yep. And but yeah, and I liked how it starts with her basically not being able to cut anything because she's like squeamish of the blood and all this other stuff, cutting into anything to the end where she is cutting him
Mhm.
and she's killing him and
Right. She got over her
whatnot.
phobia, of cutting into slicing into animals or frogs or whatever. She got over it, I guess. And when somebody's trying to kill her, she's going to defend herself.
I thought they were gonna do something different with the white guy that's on the trip with them, that
Hmm.
he was going to be one of the killers too. Like he was going to be this is all well, it kind of wouldn't have made sense because now that I'm thinking about because what I thought it would have been a cool twist is he knew that this was going to happen or whatever if they came out there, but then I'm like, no, it makes more sense that it was the guy um that the guy that you think is dead or you it presumed dead. I didn't actually think he was dead. I thought he was gonna. wake
Yes,
up and he was going to help her survive,
right. You
and
kind of saw
then
him coming back because you see him get hit, and then all of a sudden he's gone, and you don't see him for a while, and it's like, what about that guy? It's like, what about the teacher? What happened to him? Because he looked like he got hit by the idiot, with a shovel or something, and I thought he got knocked out, or I'm not sure, but then, it didn't surprise me that it showed up again. I didn't see that twist. So
the boyfriend though, they have a point where he says, what boyfriend? This boyfriend?" And he opens up the thing and shows the head of
mhm.
the it looked like the head of the guy that she was with. And so was that supposed to be a fake head or like
I didn't see a head. I saw him in the closet, but I didn't see his head taken off though.
I thought it was his head was taken off.
Really.
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe it was just in the closet.
He got beaten
Um,
up. Yeah, he was on his way to check her out and see, see if she's cheating on him with the teacher or whatever. And then he ends up they captured him.
right. But you don't see that. You just see him on his way out there. So you have no
Yeah.
idea whether or not he's gonna be able to come and save her. I mean, there was some honestly, there were some cool parts to this movie.
Mhm.
Um, I did like when basically the hunt, because it reminded me of like the most dangerous game kind of thing where, I always kind of like those movies. Like, you ever seen The Hunt? You know?
Right. Yeah, I saw it in theater.
Uh, yeah, you saw that in the theaters. I like that. I like The Most Dangerous Game. I think there's also that one with Michael Douglas, The Game,
The game.
or whatever. So
Mhm.
there's like these kind of things, and I would have loved to see more of that. That would have been cool. Is like had they let them out, but I thought the blonde girl, I mean, I was pretty sure that most everybody was gonna die.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping the blonde, I liked her a lot. I thought she had a very nice personality and she was very sweet and kind of it made though I'm sorry, with her and her boyfriend or her well, who becomes her boyfriend, they're like friends or whatever, and they like each other and it seemed like high school and not college,
Right.
kind of talk like
Because
with
they knew
oh
each other since junior high or early high school, something like that. And they knew each other since then, and now they're in college, the same
yeah,
college.
I think they were in the same class too, I guess, the biology class, which I guess colleges have biology, but do you cut things open like that in the college biology? I would have assumed that's a high school biology, and then you kind of move on from there. You've already probably done that, been there, done that, and move on, And why is she taking a biology class? Like,
She's failing it too. That's the reason why
yeah,
on the trip because she's trying to bail
get
out
some
her
extra credit.
get extra credit, and so that's why she didn't want to flunk out of college or flunk out of that class, and so she had an incentive to do that.
Yeah, they have the they have the bit in the beginning with her talking to the guy, and then she leaves and talks to her boyfriend, and her boyfriend doesn't like whatever, doesn't like the guy or whatnot. And he's kind of just staring, and you're thinking to yourself, you don't think this guy's really creepy. You just think he's like this, he likes the girl, he has a crush on this girl that's in his class or whatever, which that should not be allowed anyway. You shouldn't be, trying to get with your student, even if
The
you're
young teacher, though, I mean, he looks like he's like only maybe like five years older than she is, something,
probably, yeah.
you know, and
I,
single.
well, he wasn't a professor though, like,
He's a
because
teacher, wasn't
he was a teacher, like a teacher's aide, maybe,
he? Right,
because
maybe.
he was not a professor, because he was talking about how he wanted to be a vet. So he had to
Mm,
be some kind of like aide or something,
might, yeah.
But yeah, sadly, I saw a bunch of reviews for this movie and people didn't seem to dig it. I don't know. I mean, I dug it. It's not something I'll watch all the time, but like if somebody were like, "Do you want to watch Dismal again?" I'd say, "Yeah, sure." It's
Yeah, it's
you
fun. I
know,
mean, it's definitely there to make people laugh. It's not something to take too seriously, it's on Tubi, so it's like it's worth a watch. Just for free, just
free,
to.
yeah. Why not? Just to check it out. Are you a big fan of horror?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so what's your favorite subgenre of horror?
zombies probably. I mean,
Really?
it's kind of died off now, the popularity, but I like those a lot. Um, I'm not really so much into the Saw movies. I've seen like five of them, and I think they're okay. I know a lot of people like those, but that's it. It seems like a younger crowd. I like the first two Saw movies, and I think those are the ones that people overlook the most because it's not the true what became Saw with the traps and stuff like that. That's what Saw really became. But I like comedy horror. I mean, like Army of Darkness. Said that humor, and a lot of people don't like humor in
I
their horror
love humor and horror.
too.
It's funny. I don't know if you saw that thing I posted on my Chat GPT thing where I asked myself to like tell me about Jonathan Moody, and it was like he's a filmmaker, blah blah blah. But it says that I do a lot of comedy in my horror. I'm like, how do they know this stuff? Like, I'm like, what does ChatGPT know? Because like that's not something you can just like not a lot of people just read that, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. So it knew that I did that stuff and it knew exactly who I was. It kind of creeped me out. But I liked it. I like that because then I'm like, all right, then it makes me sound like I am somebody. But I love comedy in my horror because um to me, horror needs this. It needs suspense, it needs action, and it needs comedy, you know, because the suspense and the action kind of go together, but the comedy it like separates them sometimes. So like it can give you like a little bit comic relief, or just a second to just relax and have a good time because if you're being serious all the time in a horror film, especially indie horror films, it gets really boring. And that's why I like this movie a lot because comedy seemed to be throughout it. It didn't have just like one or two bits of comedy. It tried to make you laugh. There's the big part about the Black Mamba, and they're
Right?
obviously talking
Yeah.
about his dick,
Kobe Bryant, the Kobe Bryant kind of comparison that we used to call himself the Black Mamba in basketball.
Yeah. So
So
there you go. Like
go back late '90s because the Lakers were really big at that time. You know,
yeah, there you go. So yeah, so there you got that, and then so you got that scene, you got some of the other stuff but you've got the suspense with like you see that dead alligator, so they're all worried, like or what is going on, and we as the audience sort of know like it wasn't another alligator, it was or a bigger alligator, it was humans who did this and stuff, which. I wonder if it's trying to say that we are worse predators,
right?
in a
Yeah,
way, you know. I don't know if it really thought that deeply into it. They just probably are having fun writing it and directing it, and making it. But like when you look at that, you're like, oh my God, that is really cool. Like to think that like we are we can be worse predators than like a bear, humans in general, because we have the smarts to like make up our mind of whether or not we want to do these things or don't. You know what I mean?
right. And we have weapons, and animals don't have weapons. That kind of wipes them out a little bit. But when you have weapons,
Less bears have claws. They can
yeah,
use their own paws for weapons. That's good for them to stay out of trouble. But like and lions have their ferocious mouths and as a weapon. I mean, uh we have our mouths that we can use as weapons. We can bite people at any time. So I guess any creature can do that. Snakes. Oh jeez, my dog. My dog, every time I move my hand, he's like, oh. He really doesn't know what I'm doing.
well,
Um,
humans can get up in trees and stay away from the animals on the ground and with their guns and that kind of stuff. And they're kind of
bears
dangerous.
can climb trees.
They can,
I
yeah,
I swear that bears and humans are like the closest to like that kind
yeah,
of predator stuff. Like lions can't really climb trees. They don't uh that would be hilarious to watch a lion wrap his paws around a tree and just climb up. But they
yeah.
don't do that. They you know, at, they attack and they kill. So I mean, I really enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed the writing, I enjoyed the directing, I enjoyed the acting on most like. I don't think there was anybody I wasn't like impressed with or any. Like I wasn't like, oh, that was terrible acting. Was there anything that you thought,
Well,
anything like any line?
well, it's I don't remember a ton of the dialogue, so just just like the warnings, all the kind of foreshadowing. Stay, don't go out at night. It's dangerous out here. I mean, he was telling them to, but I don't know if he was planning on. It seemed like he went out there to get them killed. I don't see the point of why they were out if he didn't have any other motive, since he was related to these people that lived out there, like he brought them right to where these killers are, so it seemed like
Right.
that his goal for I don't know why he would do that, just other than he just likes to get people killed and
Right.
you know,
Well, I mean, it was all a setup, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. It was
Like,
all
that's why because he even talked about how he doesn't like, being a city boy or whatever, right? He didn't like being in the city and going to college and doing all that stuff, I think he thinks everybody's less than them or whatever. And it's really funny because he starts off talking about how he's a vegan,
yeah.
or whatever, because he couldn't kill an animal if he wanted to be a vet and stuff like that.
Mm.
And I thought it was hilarious because at the end of the day, you find out he's a human meat eater,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like, does that count? Does that, I mean, we are animals, I guess, in some way or another,
absolutely.
but I don't know. That's weird to think,
This movie
uh,
had a lot of the traditional horror tropes in it too, as well. I mean, the vehicle wouldn't start, and
hmm
the tires got slashed, and she gets this big head start from these guys, and then somehow they're like run right in front of her, and they're not
yeah.
they're not extremely fast guys, but they're all there.
She trips at one point. The blonde
Right,
girl trips at one point. And then she hits the trap that just slices her.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She gets
Yeah.
both her ankles cut off from the trap, and that was bad CGI too. Yeah, that whole thing, but it also had when they were frantic that the teacher gets knocked out by the idiot, and then all of a sudden the I guess the survivor, the final girl, she's taking the time to call the police, and like all of them want to run, get the hell out of there as quickly as they could, and she's taking the time. Well, let's try them again. Let's try, and all of a sudden the killer's like very
You
close.
can't run and call somebody. Like,
Right.
why do
It's
you
just
have to stop? Like run and call. Like, I don't care if you're out of breath when you talk to them. It doesn't matter. You're trying to survive somebody trying to kill you. That I didn't like because I was just like, no, 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 no.
it brings some tension
You
that
don't
oh
stop
my
at
God, this
all.
this guy's this guy's right here, like he can't be that far away, and then they're
He
taking
can't be
time.
that far away. He was like right there. She saw him. And
Yeah, didn't
so what?
did he have a bow, or did they just have a guns? I don't remember,
I
but
mean, they did have bows at
they had
one
bows.
point. Um, but yeah, and they knock out the guy, the leader, the class, the teacher guy, and he later she finds him, and he says, I thought you were dead, right, and stuff, and things like that. And I was like thinking, oh shit, he's gonna have to help her, blah blah blah. And then there's the twist. He's one of he's one of the group members. So I was like, I was kind of upset about that because the way they did it was very sort of, I don't know what to call it. Like it was a fake out that didn't seem sincere. Like they could have done that so much better. There's a couple ways they could have done it, like where they didn't have to knock him out, right? He could have been kidnapped the whole time with them or whatever, and whatnot, and then he just, takes off the stuff or whatever and reveals he's part of it, or whatever, you know. Um or something like that, like we could have gone on with it, but I don't know. I don't know. It was okay. I just think it was weird that the dude was like sleeping in the other room, and they, I guess I should have thought like this guy's in on it because he was sleeping in another room after being knocked out, right? He was sleeping in another room and he wasn't eating. Like
Right.
you would have thought that he'd be the first meal that they would have, right?
Mhm.
Because if they, whatever. And of course, he wasn't. He was in a nice room, nice bed, you know, lying down. I mean, she comes over and talks to him or whatever, and I don't
So
know.
one really good thing, I mean, that makes this kind of an easy watch is it's only like 80 minutes long. It's fairly short film, so it doesn't overstay its welcome, And like I said, it is a comedy horror kind of thing. I mean, a lot of it's made to make you laugh. I'm sure. I don't think they were serious about really anything. Just the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of parody in some ways. That you can see just families like this in the woods and away from everybody else. So I think there's cell phones that they work. She was able to call. I don't know if that was a walkie or something like that. So she was able to call out in that, but for the most part, they're not gonna work out in the swamplands like that a lot of
Hmm.
times. And as far as the comedy horrors, I was going to mention that uh, Night of the Creeps is a movie I really love. It's got a lot of humor in it, and it's dangerous, and then also Return of the Living Dead. At
Oh
least the
yeah,
first, great comedy horror kind of the stuff that you're just laughing the whole time while it's just horrific things are happening in the movie, but it keeps you laughing the whole time. This movie is kind of like in that vein.
yeah. I'm not really huge into zombies. I'm trying to watch more of them. I used to hate them, like absolutely hate them. I do love Return of the Living Dead a lot. Did not like Return of the Living Dead 2 when I first watched it. I had to turn that off.
Uh-huh.
With my friend. So I have a Sunday nights are generally like movie night with one of my friends. Some nights or whatever. We've been doing this since God for so long. And he would come like he was supposed to come and come over yesterday, but I wasn't feeling up to it and stuff and had to cancel. But um we were we watched Return of the Living Dead 2 and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
it just doesn't have the same because he showed me Evil Dead or Return of the Living Dead 1 and I thought, oh my God, that's so good. And then I'm watching the second one, I'm like, it just doesn't even feel like the same movie. It might have like some of the same cast members and
Yeah,
some of that stuff, but it just it didn't have the because I don't think Dan O'Bannon wrote it. I don't think he had anything to do with it.
right.
So it didn't that's the problem I have with a lot of sequels.
Mhm.
Except for movies like Scream, where generally Kevin Williamson is in charge of the writing for at least for the first two and then the fourth and whatnot. And so but then you see Scream 3, and Scream 3 is totally different tone
Right.
and feels like it's written by another writer. It doesn't feel like it's written by Kevin Williamson. So, it's written by the guy who did The Ring, Reindeer Games,
Mhm.
which a lot of people like, and
Yeah.
not my cup of tea. I mean, I have to rewatch that movie. I haven't seen it since it first came out.
Right.
But that writer, so I like sequels that do that. Anyway, to go with Dismal. If Dismal had a sequel, well, how would you say this could happen?
I can't see how. I mean, it seems like they're all dead, so, except for the
Ooh.
final girl. It's like everyone dies in this movie. Like I said, it's
Yeah,
spoiled.
even the boyfriend, died with a trap or whatever. That was like a post-credit, mid-credit scene or something like that or whatever. And she was all alone, at the end. And maybe it fucked her up and she started her own group of
Yeah,
cannibals or
I guess
something.
they did kind of set it up that she could be, changed by this, but it's kind of like the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The final girl in that movie, she's freaked out and everything, but I don't think she went on to go on
No.
a rampage. She was kind of just, she's probably needs therapy for the rest of her life, after surviving something like that. And
Netflix brought her back for that like shitty Netflix one that they did that I fucking hated. I absolutely hated that movie. And there it 'cause it was so like pushing agendas and
Mhm.
different things. And I get it. Like we live in a world right now where that's the topics. Those are the topics. Those are the things, But you don't have to like throw it in our face like, if you watch like Taxi Driver, there's nothing in there that throws shit in your face, but it's there subtly, right? And stuff. So anyway, in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or whatever it was, the Netflix one.
But yeah,
Uh, she comes back, but she's like
yeah,
this badass. I think it was her name was Sally Hardesty, I think,
yeah,
or whatever. She's like this badass chick
sure.
now, and she's been waiting for all these years to take on Leatherface. I'm like, wait, well, why didn't you just go back and just come over and shoot him?
Yeah,
Because there wouldn't be a story where she gets called in to go, right? It was so stupid. It was
that
dumb.
movie
I
didn't
hate
make
it.
any sense. There's some good horror in there, but as far as the storyline, it didn't make any sense. Like,
Oh, the best scene in the whole movie was when he takes on the whole bus.
bus, yeah,
Killing all the people on the
killing
bus.
it,
Like, I honestly, if that was the whole movie, was just that one clip, I would have loved it.
yeah.
Like that right there was the best part. But the rest of it was just, I don't know, it was just trash. There's so
Timeline
much I could say
is,
about that.
yeah.
What?
I mean, Leatherface is going to be like 70 something years old, but he's moving around like he's a 20-year-old in the movie. Like,
Probably was a 20-year-old playing that role,
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
But like this character would have been, almost 50 years old, or would have been 50 years old, pretty much, very close to that, older than he was in the first one. Like, he had to have been in his 20s then,
This
or
is why requels don't work. This
yeah,
is why I laugh at Halloween when it brings back Michael Myers and he's fucking 70 years old.
yeah,
And you're like, this guy is 70 years old. He should have back pain. He should, he shouldn't be like, this massive guy. Now, granted, the guy who played him in some of the parts was that old and stuff, but he didn't do all the running and all the other stuff. That was the stunt guy who was much younger than him doing
yeah,
all that stuff, right? So he just does the parts where he can walk and look whatever. So I'm just like, I don't like this because just give me a remake, now. If you're gonna
yeah.
reboot something, reboot it. Don't give me this recall crap. Stop that. Hollywood, stop that shit.
Stop it.
But indie films don't do that because we have indie films barely have anything to recall. We don't they don't have like well, now they got the Winnie the Pooh franchise, the Blood and Honey ones, and stuff. And now it's become a cinematic universe of very scary tales or whatever, creatures. So anyway, that's completely off the topic of Dismal, but that's typical of my stuff. So if you are a person who's watched my stuff before, you know that. Um, all right, well, I know you gotta go, you got a live stream and stuff to get to in a little bit, but I just want to say thank you so much for checking, for coming on here with me and talking with me about this, and this was fun. I love having you here. You seem to know a lot about these things, especially horror. So I'd love to have you come back for another review at some point. But everybody go check out Dismal. If you listen to what we said, you haven't seen it. Even though you heard what we said, you haven't seen the movie. Go see it. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. I actually was very surprised because I thought, I mean, you're looking at some of the reviews, a lot of them said, "Oh man, the title of the movie is dismal," and like whatever. But I still thought it was a lot more fun than, like, it kind of reminded me of Hatchet a little bit.
Right, right, yeah. That's definitely what it reminded me of, the Hatchet films. Like, it's just like, it's kind of silly the way even the opening shot is very much
Yeah,
like a Hatchet film. Like,
the
they're on a boat.
opening with them on the boat looking for
Yeah,
gators. It
yeah.
just didn't have Robert England and Joshua Leonard, so it didn't have
Uh,
the what.
yeah, I thought this movie was gonna be. I told you when I saw it, I wonder if it's gonna be like Crawl. And it's not like it's not at all what you thought it would be. It's
Well,
not that.
Crawl was the alligator one, right? So you thought it
It
was
has
gonna be an alligator movie, and it kind
everywhere.
of sets you up to be an alligator movie
Mhm.
because they're in the swamp and the person gets like thrown under the thing. So you think, oh my God, it's the gator that he thought he killed.
Right.
And I don't know how they got that gator out of the view or whatever real fucking quickly, but they did. And then the other guy got taken, then you see it's humans that are doing it and everything, not alligators or whatever. You're like, okay, so this is a slasher. Once again, like Hatchet. But
Right.
it didn't have like it wasn't a Hatchet. It wasn't like this idiot is not gonna be Victor Crowley, you know? You know what I mean?
Right.
Sadly, they could have made him kind of cooler or whatever. Like, I don't know, maybe Idiot was supposed to be like Leatherface, more like how but I just wish his name would have been something else because you know, because I think even in the first Texas Chainsaw, they don't ever mention his name, right? They just call him Leatherface in the credits, right?
Yeah, I think it's just in the second one that they actually he became kind of a star. In '86. It was that 13 years after the original or something.
Something. All right, well, we gotta end this. So thank you guys so much for checking this out. Please check that movie out and join me tomorrow for a brand new episode and a brand new person who's gonna be helping me review these films. So until then, everybody, have a good one.
Everybody.
Bye.